8th edition of your NAACP Speaks. Heard here every Tuesday from 4:30 to 5:30 on WEHA 88.7 and 100.3 FM. Led by the Honorable Elder William Hawks, who is the president and the founder of WEHA. We salute him every week for his diligence in business and community service. Just wanted to take a minute to thank him for putting on the air our program that we had last week on the criminal justice reform and use of force with the Attorney General, with Prosecutor Tyner, with Brother Mays of the Coalition for a Safe Community, and of course the Atlantic City NAACP. And we're happy to report that many people tuned in and listened, and we're going to have a follow-up, Yolanda, on August 18th, dealing with, again, law enforcement and criminal justice reform. Firstly, as we have been doing for many weeks, in fact, too long, we like to recognize the families and the loved ones that have been lost here in New Jersey, almost 15,000 to the virus, and across the country, almost 150,000. So we join their family members in mourning their loss and their memory, and we, as always, pray for them and their families, and hope and pray that this virus will soon come to an end and that we will move to the other side. Also, we would like to announce a new feature beginning to today, hopefully at 4:45. We will hear from the Honorable Marty Small, who is the mayor of the city of Atlantic City. And also, I'm proud to say him and his wife are members of the Atlantic City branch of the NAACP. And just for the record, Mayor Small was a member before he started running for re-election for mayor. He was a frequent visitor to our branch meetings to bring us an update. We're going to premiere something today called the Mayor's 5. And what that is going to be is 5-minute update weekly from our mayor on whatever topic he chooses. And the Mayor's 5 has really a double meaning. Mayor's 5 is the length of time he's going to talk. It also refers to his former athletic career as a basketball star. So that hopefully that'll start today, the Mayor's 5. Let me give you an update on our membership drive. I got a report from our very efficient and effective treasurer, Linda Steele, that we have received almost 25 memberships for this month, which is a very good sign that we're going to reach our goal. The membership drive is going to the end of September, and we hope to have a significant number of memberships. To all those who've joined recently, we say thank you. We appreciate you. We've sent out renewal notices for those members whose membership is up. The NAACP is a membership organization, and we have annual membership fee, which is only $30. To those of you who got your renewals, as soon as you're able, please renew. We know these are tough times economically for many people, and we appreciate your sacrifice in paying. So to those of you who have membership renewals, we expect and hope that you are able to renew, and we appreciate you. To those of you who are listening and deciding that you want to join, we encourage you. We need you. We want you. There's much work to be done, and for $30, that is something that is a reasonable fee. And let me say now, Yolanda, I can reveal one of our donors who sponsored 10 youngsters in the membership, and that is Miss India Steele, who is an attorney, local attorney and head of the initiatives office under the Department of Community Affairs and working in the city, and we thank her for her excellent donation, and we salute her. Also, while we're talking about memberships, we salute Elder Hawks, who's going to do 10 memberships, and the membership drive is moving forward. Again, a shout out to Mandy Chapman Days, who is vowed to do 25 memberships, and I know she's going to complete that vow before the membership drive is up. Also, Angel Shabazz, who's vowed to match her, and Judah Darrington, who said that she's in the running too. So I just want to thank and acknowledge all of those people who I mentioned and others who are supported. We need you. We welcome you, and we have work for you to do. Now, as always, I am glad to turn over to our very effective and distinguished co-host, program producer, legal redress officer, and political co-chair for the Atlantic City branch, Yolanda Melville, Esquire. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, President. Another fine July day here in Atlantic City, and for NAACP Speaks, as you mentioned last month, we are in our 6th or 7th month, I think, at this point. And I really just applaud the efforts that we have been doing as a branch and certainly getting the information out, but also you and I for taking this endeavor first in the studio and now virtually as the pandemic has continued to be as pervasive as it is. So we have two dynamic guests coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, Earl Harvey and Clyde Hughes, who are two local journalists but have been so vital to Black media and the dissemination of good, important, and relevant and truthful information, and we'll talk about that in the 5 o'clock hour. Again, as we talk about pretty much every week, these have been regular. The virtual town hall by the National NAACP, there's another one coming up this Wednesday, July 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can dial in at 866-757-0756. Again, 866-757-0756, and you can always RSVP or watch at naacp.org. And what's this week's town hall about? It's going to be Mitt Romney, U.S. Senator for the state of Utah, as well as Derek Johnson, who is the president and CEO of the NAACP, and of course, distinguished CNN correspondent April Ryan, who's also a journalist. So we will have a dynamic panel from the NAACP's national office featuring Mitt Romney, Derek Johnson, and April Ryan coming up tomorrow, July 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can dial in at 866-757-0756, or you can always contact the NAACP and watch there at naacp.org. So what's happening on the local level? So there's so many things. The pandemic has not stopped the movement, and we are looking forward to doing a lot of things. As the president has mentioned, we've increased our membership here, and we are continuing to really welcome anyone who wants to be a member of the NAACP. A question has always come up, and I never think it's a silly question. Do I have to be African American to join the NAACP? And for those who don't know, the NAACP was a multiracial organization at its inception, at its founding in 1909. So it was founded by people of many different races. So we encourage anyone and everyone who believes in the mission and values of the NAACP to certainly become a member. We of course would love to have you at the NAACP Atlantic City branch, but certainly in any way that you can across the country, join us. Since the George Floyd protests have gone on, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic, there has really been a robust response to involvement throughout the country, and Atlantic City is no different to that. As the president has mentioned, we've had a significant increase in our membership, and we are only looking for more people to do more, because there's always room to do more. Isn't that right, President?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how can I become a member of the Atlantic City NAACP? Well, it's very easy. You can send a check to our P.O. Box at Atlantic City NAACP, P.O. Box 1182 at Beacon, New Jersey, 08201, or you can always visit us at naacp.org/become a member. You type in 08401, which is our zip code, click search, and we are the Atlantic City branch. Our unit number is 2077B, and you choose your membership type. As we've mentioned, the adult memberships are $30, or if you'd like someone or a family member or a friend to be a member at the youth level, that membership cost is $10 per year. As we mentioned, every week, I think there's not enough people registered to vote because there are still unregistered voters. So we need to ensure that everybody is definitely registered to participate in the next election. So how can I be registered in New Jersey? It's very simple. You must be a U.S. citizen. You must be at least 17 years of age at the time of registration. But at voting, you must have reached the age of 18. You must be a resident of your particular county. In this respect, it's Atlantic County. for at least 30 days prior to the election. And you must be a person, or you can be a person who is serving probation or parole as long as you are not incarcerated. So again, in order to register to vote here for the next election, it has to be done 21 days prior to the election day. So our next election is going to be the general election, November 3rd, and the voter registration deadline for that is October 13th. But certainly, we are taking voter registration every day up until Tuesday, October 13th. So another tidbit of information that we want to share is that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the 111th NAACP Annual Convention has been moved again, and that date is now going to be September 13th until September 26th. So registration for that will be opening this week, actually last week. But tune in to the NAACP's website at naacp.org for more information regarding that. But there are going to be regional sessions as well as conversations with regard to health and wealth, civic engagement, Black Voter Day. And if you'd like to be a person who registers and goes to the virtual convention this year, you can do so by visiting the naacp.org. Also, for those who do not know, Boston was supposed to be the convention site this year. As we all know, the COVID pandemic has had other plans for that. So Boston has officially announced as the 2023 NAACP Annual Convention site. And as many of you know, Atlantic City is 2022, and we still continue to remain in that spot. So we are gearing up for not just Boston in 3 years, but certainly our own in 2. So that's why membership is important, engagement is important, and you're important to the movement here in New Jersey and specifically Atlantic City. With that, I want to just close by saying the virtual town hall is tomorrow, Wednesday, July 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can dial in at 866-757-0756. Again, 866-757-0756. You can always RSVP or watch online at naacp.org. That virtual town hall this week will feature Mitt Romney, the U.S. Senator from Utah, President Derek Johnson, and April Ryan, a correspondent and journalist. And I will turn it over to you, President.
Okay. Yolanda, I just wanted to mention Thursday at 6:30.
Yes.
We're going to have a memorial service for Congressman Hughes in the Civil Rights Garden in Atlantic City at 6:30. We felt that there would be no better place, excuse me, in my councilman's hat, no better place than the Civil Rights Garden to memorialize a civil rights hero and icon, John Lewis. So we're going to gather there for a brief memorial. We're going to have bottled water that we're going to give out, hand sanitizers, and everyone wear masks and practice social distancing. But I thought it would be robbery not to recognize John Lewis, especially here in Atlantic City. And also, let me make this announcement. It was in the paper, but I just wanted to underscore it. I introduced a resolution to City Council that was passed unanimously by my colleagues to ask the CRDA to erect a statue of Fannie Lou Hamer in front of the Convention Center in Atlantic City. We all remember and know of Fannie Lou Hamer's famous statement that she was sick and tired of being sick and tired when she was in the Mississippi Freedom Delegation here in 1964 at the Democratic Convention, which was held in Atlantic City. So hopefully in the very near future, I believe the CRDA is going to take that up. It was passed unanimously, I said, by my colleagues, and that we will have a Fannie Lou Hamer statue here in Atlantic City to commemorate her historic stand and make another link in Atlantic City's history with civil rights. And I think that's very important that we do that. So that'll be Thursday at 6:30 for those who join. Obviously, we are limited by space, but we did want to make sure that we have some kind of formal recognition for John Lewis. And the civil rights bell that's in the Civil Rights Garden is going to be rung 8 times, symbolizing 80 years of John Lewis's illustrious life. So for those who can make it, 6:30 on Thursday. And Yolanda, I just want to also say that, as I said before, Attorney Still was a donor to your youth drive, which is coming along. We hope that at the end of the membership drive, that the youth drive, that we can announce that both of them will have been successful, because we need adult members and we need youth members, which are the future, to bring them up in the youth council experience and what NAACP wants to do for you. And hopefully we'll have an announcement in a couple of weeks about a program that we've been working on to develop youth. Hopefully we'll have that in place maybe sometime in August to announce to our audience a NAACP program for youth development here in Atlantic City. I think people will be pleased to hear that. And I think that it will be something that will be beneficial to young people and will help develop young leaders, which we need, and also give them grounding in development. So I'm hoping that our mayor is going to call in before we get to the 5 o'clock hour, so we can start the Mayor's 5. But if not, Yolanda, our guests for today, these are your guests?
Well, I've been thinking about this.
Oh, my goodness. Here we go.
Clyde Hughes and Earl Harvey are, fantastic guests, and I certainly don't want to just hold them to myself, but I also understand this is an opportunity, and I want to say this before they get on. So many times they take their minds and their work to really uplift and feature us in the community doing things. And this is an opportunity for us to talk to them about what they do, what matters to them most, and really just to thank them and showcase them for being information sources that we know and trust.
Right.
And so certainly with that respect, I'd like to share them with you, if that's all right.
Oh, my goodness. I think I'm going to have to start a petition with the listeners to see. Okay, I'll accept that.
Okay.
We have very distinguished guests today, and
that we're sharing.
Yeah, we're sharing the guests.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think that they are very distinguished guests, and people need to hear from media people, especially media people of color, who have expertise and talent. And both of these gentlemen both have expertise and talent and experience. So I accept your offer to that we'll have both of them. And
thank you. I certainly want to highlight. You mentioned Congressman John Lewis and his funeral services are going on all throughout the week this week.
Right.
But certainly for those who don't make the correlation between John Lewis's magnanimous life and today, you have to understand how much of a believer of voting rights he was, and that he put his life on the line to ensure that all of us have an opportunity to access the ballot. So if there's one thing that you could do this year to honor someone's life, I really encourage you to vote, because, people's literal lives, their blood, sweat, and tears have gone into ensuring that we all have access to the ballot in a way that is equitable. And certainly, we haven't talked about it much, but I always highlight this is the 100th year of women having the right to vote, the 55th year of the Voting Rights Act, for which Congressman Lewis fought so vigorously as a young organizer, and also the 150th year of the 15th Amendment that afforded Black men the right to vote in this country. So those three milestones are still important and prevalent to today's conversations, to today's society. So do not walk in that legacy in vain. If you know someone who is not registered to vote, if you know someone who's been in the criminal justice system and is avoiding the right to vote, please encourage them to utilize their civil rights that people are still fighting for to this day in Congress to ensure that it's equitable. So certainly I just wanted to share that with our audience as we recognize and value John Lewis's legacy this week. And also, one more thing. I haven't talked about it much, but it's on my social media. Thursday and Friday, there is a National Summit for Civil Rights happening virtually, a convention. And there's going to be a lot of speakers. I will be a speaker. I'm actually one of the co-chairs of the committees planning this, but it's all virtual. NAACP members do get a discount. So follow us on our social media, but if you'd like to register for the event, it's $25 to register, but there is a discount for NAACP if you put NAACP in the tax code or the discount code. Thursday starting at 1 o'clock, ending Friday at 4 o'clock at the summitforcivilrights.org. So summit, or FOR, civilrights.org. Keith Ellison is going to be a speaker. Derek Johnson is going to be a speaker. We are giving the John Lewis Award, the Jim Clyburn Award, the Shirley Chisholm Award to two phenomenal women leaders, and there is going to be a special tribute to Congressman John Lewis done by Georgia State Conference President and Next Gen alum James Major Woodall. So please follow summitforcivilrights.org on the website. You can always go to my social media as well.
Listen, very, very good. This is the time for civil rights, social justice, voting rights, and it's interesting for people who think it is not important to vote or why bother to vote. All you have to do is look at the forces that are trying to suppress the vote and trying to stop people from voting. So you don't have to be a political scientist to see that there must be something there that people are going out of their way and spending millions of dollars to try to stop people from voting and exercising their franchise right here in this country. It's going to be a very, very crucial election, and we need to be registered, and not just registered. That's the first step, because if you register and you don't vote, then really you nullified your action. We need to register and then vote, and it's very easy in New Jersey. I don't know what the governor's going to do, but I think it might be a good guess to think that we're going to have a lot of vote by mail for November, because the pandemic is still going to be here. Who knows what's going to happen in the fall? So even though the president says it's going to disappear, it's not going to disappear, and it's probably going to even get worse because we're going to have the flu season going along with the pandemic, which is probably going to aggravate things. So it's reasonable to expect that if we don't have an all-mail-in election, we'll have at least a hybrid with some mail and some voting in person. But I can't think of anything easier than voting in the comfort of your house or your apartment or your condo, sitting down at a table or in a chair and filling out your ballot, putting it in a mailbox, or like we had in Lang City, a lockbox, which is going to be in play again, I believe. And I just want to also say that we appreciate the response of the county clerk to our letter before talking about having someone in Atlantic City. And I think we're going to actualize that, Madam Chair, in the November election, because we need to have all hands on deck, and we need to make voting as easy as possible, unlike some forces who want to put barriers and restraints and roadblocks for people to vote. We want to tear them down. We wanted to make it easy for every legal person who wants to vote. And there are many. And as we get closer to the election, I think it's 98 days to election. Maybe we need to put a big election countdown. That's our very esteemed social media director. She can put a countdown clock on the NAACP site to count down to election, maybe a countdown to the voter registration deadline, which is October 13th. Then after October 13th, start another countdown clock to the election.
Right.
Because those are two very important dates to people, not just people who are supporters of the NAACP, but to people in general. This election has to bring about change, and the NAACP doesn't tell people who to vote for, but we ask people to vote, and we say vote in your best interest. And I think it's a pretty clear call of our best interest.
Right.
So I see we have 4 minutes left before we get to the 5 o'clock hour. I don't see our mayor. Maybe he got hung up, but hopefully we'll. If he doesn't make it this week, we'll have him next week for the Mayor's 5. He's committed to do it, so I am sure that he will do it. He wants to do it, and we want him to avail himself of speaking to people in our radio audience. Yolanda, before we go to our 5 o'clock hour, do you have anything you want to present?
Sure. I'll just remind people to join the virtual town hall tomorrow, Wednesday, July 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the dial-in is 866-757-0756, or you can always visit naacp.org. President Shabazz, I do want to tell you that the mayor has contacted me and said that he's been on hold. So let's
what can we do?
If we can,
okay.
We can get him on the line.
Okay.
Let's see. Do you have any announcements while I figure out how to get the mayor in?
Just membership. We encourage your membership. We need your membership. The NAACP is a membership organization, and we would encourage everyone who can to please join. And to those members who have gotten their recertification, or we ask you to send your membership in. And as Yolanda mentioned, the town hall, please remember that, tomorrow, Wednesday. Also Thursday, for those of you who are available in limited numbers, join us at 6:30 in the Civil Rights Garden for a memorial to Congressman John Lewis. We're going to have a memorial there to just lift his name up, and so that Atlantic City can be in that number who recognizes the great, great work of Congressman John Lewis. Okay, can we get our mayor in?
We're trying.
All right. If we can, I'll ask our guests to indulge us for 5 minutes to give him his time, and then we'll just give them the remainder of the time. Does that sound fair?
Sure, yeah. Let's see. Let me see if I can get the mayor on, and you can just talk to our guests. Till then, I think it's 4:58. We have a few more announcements before we get to the 5 o'clock hour.
Okay, 4:58. The other announcement is the census. We have been talking about the census for many months, and they are still collecting responses to the census. If you have not responded to the census, or someone that you know has not responded to the census, or someone that you work with, someone that you attend your religious institution, or someone in your civic organization has not responded to the census, please, ma'am, and please, sir, encourage them, ask them, urge them to respond to the census. That's very, very important. The census determines how federal and county and state funds are allocated. The census determines priorities for the next 10 years. The census determines how we draw political boundaries, and that's important and that's critical to our development. And we just encourage you, if you have not completed your census form, it only takes less than 10 minutes, really. The questions are very basic. The information is sealed. It does not lead to infringement upon your privacy rights. If you are a person who has a question with the immigration status, does not impact that. If you are a person who happens to have a warrant with the law, we first encourage you to get that straightened out. But if you are in that situation, completing the census doesn't impact that, and there's no sound reason for you not to complete the census. It will only help your community, your family, your state, your nation, if you complete the census. Please complete the census. Okay.
Hey, it's 5 o'clock. The mayor is going to call in to us directly.
Okay.
And until we can get the mayor on the line, can I just go ahead and read the bios of our guests and get them started?
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so in no particular order, I'm just going to read Clyde Hughes' bio first, and then we'll get to our distinguished guests.
Our shared guests, right?
Our shared guests, yes.
Our shared guests.
Our guests.
Yeah, our guests.
Clyde Hughes is the editor of Front Runner New Jersey. The news blog highlights African American leadership. Website, a subsidiary of AC Joseph H. Media, celebrates its second birthday in August. and is growing by leaps and bounds. In June, Frontrunner New Jersey surpassed its viewership and visitors numbers for all of 2019 and continues its rapid growth while highlighting, advocating, and celebrating Black culture and achievement. This month, Frontrunner New Jersey debuts Frontrunner La Prensa, a column that will highlight Latino culture and leadership in South Jersey. Which plans to have a spin-off website down the road. Hughes is a longtime, former full-time daily newspaper reporter who has worked with publications in Texas, Ohio, and Indiana. He is currently a freelance news reporter for the United Press International, along with his duties for FrontrunnerNewJersey.com. He has been recognized by the Southern Burlington County branch of the NAACP and the Gloucester County branch of the NAACP for his work with FrontrunnerNewJersey.com. Welcome, Clyde Hughes.
Welcome. I hope you can hear me.
Oh, yes, we can hear you. I'm going to quickly turn over to Earl Harvey's bio. We'll get him on the line, and we'll see if we can get the mayor in very shortly before we get started with your interview. Is that all right?
Sure, that's cool.
Okay. Earl Harvey is the CEO of Earl Harvey Media Group, a multimedia communications firm that promotes diversity in media, the entertainment, and marketing. The company produces multicultural programming and content for diverse consumers and advocates for the equitable distribution of resources for the arts and business communities. Earl founded the Black Professionals newspaper in 2001 to provide marketing and advertising assistance for small businesses and community-based organizations. The paper is an affordable way for small businesses and nonprofit organizations to reach new customers. In 2014, Earl expanded to New Jersey to publish the Atlantic City Times. Mr. Harvey is also active in the business community and produces events socially for the Black Professionals Network. The events are for Minority Enterprise Development Week, Women's Month, Small Business Week, and the annual Black Professionals Holiday Gala. Earl is a native Philadelphian, currently residing in Atlantic City, a graduate of Temple University with a BA in Communications. With his media company, Earl supports the Cleft Club, the Marian Anderson Organization, the Gift of Life organ donors, the Martin Luther King Jr. Association, the NAACP, the Public Relations Council of Atlantic City, and the I Buy Black movement and other nonprofit organizations. Active in many social and professional groups, he has received community service awards from numerous local and national organizations and is annually recognized as one of the region's leaders by the Philadelphia Tribune newspaper. Earl Harvey, are you on the line with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hello, Miss Yolanda.
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
All righty, thank you.
Hello, Miss Yolanda.
Hello, my man. What's going on?
Everything is wonderful. Glad to be on the show with all you wonderful folks today. You can share us. There's enough of us to go around, okay?
Hello, Miss Yolanda.
There you go, President. You heard it here first from our guest,
Hello, Miss Yolanda.
Hi, yes.
Mr. Marty Smalls is on the air.
Okay, welcome, Mayor.
Yes. How you doing, Yolanda? And to the listening audience, it's a great day here in the city of Atlantic City.
Welcome, Mayor.
How you doing, Councilman? Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Listen, Mayor, we apologize for the delay. We had announced you at 4:45 with little technical difficulties, but it was great anticipation for your start. And as I said, this is going to be the Mayor's 5, and we look forward to having you every week. And we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to give us a 5-minute briefing and update. And as I said, this is a partisan remark, but I think it's a truthful remark. I believe you're doing an excellent job in moving our city forward.
Yes, thank you for the compliments, but your producer shared with me before I came on the air that you purposely made me wait because I'm not a third ward resident.
That's what she said. All right. Go ahead, Mayor. You have your 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, first, I would like to thank the good people of Atlantic City who reelected me into the office of mayor. It was it was a larger turnout than was expected. I'm absolutely humbled by the amount of support that I received, the number of votes that we got, and the number of votes that we distanced ourselves from our opponents. I couldn't be happier. I think that's a reflection of the job that we've done in the office in the 9 months that I've been there. And like I said, we truly have a plan, and we want to continue to execute that plan as we go forward. Obviously, the next thing is, how do we transition our city workers back to work? We have a plan that was approved by the state of New Jersey. We are working with CRDA, who is, trying to build plexiglass in all the city buildings, because we want to make sure that when we do return back to work, even if it's on a limited capacity, that we protect our employees as well as the people who visit the building as well. So the plan was approved, and we look forward, to returning back and getting people back in the building and offering better services for the residents. I like to give kudos to all of our employees who have worked from home since March. They've done a fabulous job under the circumstance, and we just can't wait to welcome everyone back, but we're going to do it in a safe and responsible way. I also wanted to mention that it was our leadership that boosted the businesses on the boardwalk and other areas, such as Gardeners Basin, with the open container law. We executed that by executive order with the hopes of the state down the line seeing that it works in Atlantic City and have it passed permanently. I'm proud to announce that I think this week the state Senate will vote on it. It was approved through committee in the Assembly and in front of the full Assembly, and I believe it was approved by the Senate committee last week. So a lot of businesses are extremely happy. We got, I go on the boardwalk, in the community, messages into the offices that the business owners have seen a jump in business. And it's just an extra, amenity. And look, everybody don't agree with it, but we got to look at, boosting tourism. And, the police were fine with it. And, I felt that we should be fine with it as well. So I'm excited about that, because during these times, we have to work with our businesses and to see the economic impact of such a decision, and that we were proactive on. Nobody told us what we should do. We did it. And I'm just happy that businesses are thriving in that area.
Okay, Mayor, you have 2 minutes left. I don't want to be accused of shorting you. Is any announcements you want to make about upcoming events or anything that you're planning that the public should know?
Well, no, I think, what you were a part of, I want to give kudos. 2 things, that the budget was voted on officially by the city of Atlantic City. And I'm just glad because, during an election season, your opponents accuse you of doing things just because it's an election. But when you see state representatives commenting on the city of Atlantic City's budget, and the fact that it was approved at adoption 9-0 by City Council, and it was it was introduced 9-0 by City Council and adopted at the last City Council meeting, shows that it was a clean budget. 9.6 cents tax decrease for overall 5.35% tax decrease, percentage-wise, and it has one more step. As you know, we under state takeover. So the state of New Jersey's fiscal year started July 1st, but it was extended to September 30th. So therefore, the city's budget will go in front of the local finance board, where we expect it to be approved with flying colors next month. So the budget will be in place. I know over the years people have criticized City Hall for spending, etc. I ought to have said that the city has. We're so far under the spending cap that it's not even funny. We're in a position where we need employees now. Like there's a shortage in all departments, and obviously, we won't fill every vacancy. But I'm proud, at the direction that we're going, considering the next 3 years we're projecting tax decreases for 3 consecutive years. So I've led that charge. Another big thing came out. Council approved a lot of contracts from the $19.6 million resiliency project that, due to our relationship with the state, we were able to use leftover Sandy monies. And that's going to increase our resiliency. Things such as light synchronization on Pacific Avenue and other parts of the city, lower Bulkhead and lower Chelsea, and the pump station. So there's a lot of monies that aren't going to come from the taxpayers. It's going to be geared towards Atlantic City that we will benefit from, as well as paving of various streets.
Mayor, thank you so much. That's the Mayor's 5, and next week, we promise you, I'm talking to my program director now, we're going to have you exactly on time. It's our fault this time, but next time, when you do the Mayor's 5, it'll be exactly on time. And thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate it. I know you're busy, you're doing many things leading the city, and you have a young family, you're doing that, and I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on to NACP Speaks, and we look forward to hearing from you next week.
All right, thank you. The pleasure's mine. Have a great day.
Okay. Yolanda, you said because you wasn't a Third Ward resident, would you see that?
I didn't say that, but that must have come through, so I think, to make this easier, he should be
That's
my
funny.
guest in perpetuity. That's a legal
Oh,
term.
my goodness.
That means
I hope he's still listening.
in the future, I think he should just be my standing guest for the remainder of our segments.
Oh, my goodness. So you see how they do me, Brother Hughes? Hats off to our mayor for the mayor of the city to take time off and to stay on the phone. That is a salute to his sincerity, and we appreciate it. Okay.
So, to our distinguished guests for today, Mr. Clyde Hughes and Earl Harvey, I will start the questions. And the first question comes from our president, but I'll read it out to everybody. What is the role of Black media in this time of turbulence? So whoever wants to start first.
Well, this is Earl Harvey. Go ahead, Clyde. Go ahead.
I knew we were going to talk at the same time. Sure, I will take that question first. And, I've worked in mainstream media for a long time. And there is a value. Matter of fact, it's a big value in having African Americans, people of color, in newsrooms. So the goal of any journalism professional is to be objective, but we all have walked different paths in life, and it's important if we're going to be true communicators to the entire community. We do our stories, we try to be objective, but we should never shy away from the path that we've walked, and using that as an asset in telling those stories, and particularly in the situations that we see now. There's a large part of the community who don't understand what's going on. The protests and why the protests are going on. And it's up to us, I feel, as African-American journalists, as people of color, to be able to add that needed context. We didn't just drop out of the sky, or people didn't just drop out of the sky and say, I want to protest one day. There is a history. There is a long journey that has brought us to the point. Matter of fact, I was telling someone the other day, if you think these protests is about George Floyd and what happened to him, you're missing the whole reason. George Floyd may have been the tip of the iceberg, but it's never been about an individual. So, as a journalist, you need to add that context. You need to add that depth, so we can do our jobs as opposed to fully engage in talk to the committee, and explain to the committee of what's going on, and play that role as being communicators. All right, I know that's a little bit long-winded, but go ahead, Earl.
Well,
you had me go first.
Well, basically, he set the tone for the conversation, and he gave us some context, okay, for the discussion that we're going to have today. Because when you say what is the role of black media in this time of turbulence, we could take out the word "this" and say what is the role of black media in times of turbulence? Because as you know, for 400 years, the black community has been in turbulence. Okay, this moment is not new. So young people have a tendency to think of themselves in real time. Okay, they live in the moment. But for those of us who have been around and who know our history, we're well aware that the Black Lives Matter movement was called the abolitionist movement, okay, in the 1700s and the 1600s. And, then it became the civil rights movement, okay? So it changes names, but it's still fighting for the same cause. And, you can't talk about black media today without talking about Frederick Douglass and the North Star paper in 1847.
Right.
And what was his role in having a newspaper during the times of slavery? Well, his role was to educate and inform the community about what was going on, but it was also to sway public opinion. And he had to gather, troops. We had to marshal forces collectively to combat slavery. And that's what the media allows us to do. We're able to give our point of view. We're able to give our point of view, which helps people understand the situation and not rely on other people telling our story.
And Earl, you bring up a great point. For example, John Lewis. John Lewis was Black Lives Matter before there was a Black Lives Matter.
That's a good point.
As a leading snake. When he participated in the freedom rides, he was 21 years old. I was barely finding my classes in college at 21 years old, and he was doing things that changed the country at 21. So that's what I mean when we talk about John Lewis. There is a direct connection to him and Black Lives Matter and the protests that are going on. So it's important to us to be able to put those things in perspective and allow people to understand and see the connecting dots throughout.
Without a doubt, Clyde. And, when you look at the media environment that we're in right now, under this president, Donald Trump, the term fake news has been introduced into our language. And no one ever heard the term fake news as a regular description of our media outlets ever. Now, we know that if you stand in the supermarket line and pick up a tabloid newspaper and see some of the stories that are on the front covers of some of those newspapers, we know that fake news has been around for a long time. But it was usually in the print version. Okay, we would see you be in the supermarket line, you see a story that says alien baby attacks person. It's like, wow, really? Yeah. UFOs sighted over Atlantic City. These are the kind of stories that the tabloid newspapers have always put out there to get people to pick up their publications and buy them. So, but stretching the truth to sell media is not new. But what is different is that the president of our United States has attacked credible media sources. We have sources that we have known and trusted for years to give us accurate information, particularly about politics and misdeeds, because that's what investigative journalism is all about. That's what our major newspapers do. But we have a president who manipulates the media for his own purposes, and as long as the media is on his side and telling the good things about him, he's fine with them. But the minute they disagree with him, he wants to brand them as fake news and have his followers believe that it's a conspiracy, they're lying about him, and all these bad things they're saying about me are not true.
Okay. Well, I won't put the same political spin on it as Earl just did, but there's real fake news out there. there is a fake news industry out there. It's alive and well. Now, and with that being said, it's not what a lot of powers and higher ups would like you believe that it's fake news. And we were talking about this before we got started. A lot of that fake news is targeting the African American community for very specific reasons, for trying to get the community to react in very specific ways. And in another role that we have as African American journalists and journalists and people of color is being helping our communities weed through that fake news and provide accurate news sources and factual news sources, because the fake news is designed to confuse us. The fake news is designed to drive down voter participation, political and civic engagement. Those are specific purposes of fake news and how they attack our communities, and we have to play that vital role in helping our communities see through those things.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's a good point, and let me just underscore that before Yolanda gets to her next question. That's what we at the NAACP have been saying, and we're going to continue for the next 98 days and the 10 to 12 programs that we have before Election Day. Stay focused, and vote. Don't be dissuaded. The focus is on improving our life conditions and not on these side messages. I'm sorry, Yolanda, go ahead.
No, absolutely. And I do want to just let you know that it's 5:23 right now. I know we're not even getting to the tip of the iceberg. Very good conversation.
That's why we're having fun.
All right, exactly. So let me be the first to say before we get into the second question, if you all are available next week, we would love to have part 2 of Black Media at 5 o'clock at the same time if you're available, just to really continue this discussion, to get into your personal journey on how you became journalists.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay. All right. So you all talked about this, but I really want to expound on it. The next question is, why is Black print media so important? And I really want you all to emphasize the community and history of Black oral history and why having a Black storyteller, particularly in the media, is so important.
Well, I'll go first.
Carter, I went first last time.
Well, we have to look at the history of Black people. And historically, during slavery, Black people were not allowed to read or write. Consequently, we could not chronicle our experience. We could not chronicle our journey to pass it on to future generations. That's why when you see things like slave narratives, that are printed today that are uncovered, it's so important to realize that the people who wrote those slave narratives while they were enslaved, a lot of them taught themselves to read, or someone taught them to read.
Right.
And that was not allowed to read and write. So we have very little documented evidence of our existence in this country prior to us being freed after the Civil War. So our history was confined to an oral history. We had storytellers and griots in our community, and their job was to retain that information so that they could get it to the future generations. Now imagine having to retain all that information without being able to read and write and put it on paper.
Right.
So when we finally got the opportunity to have that process, that's when our publications, our books, and our newspapers became so important to the Black community. because after slavery ended, our people were released and we were free to move about the country. But our relatives had been sold to so many different plantations in so many different states that our families were spread out all over the place. And when black newspapers came into fruition, our people used to actually put notices in our papers listing their relatives by name, where they were sent to, in the hopes that they could reconnect to their families who they were separated from. So we have a real deep history on how our media outlets have been used and why they're so important. And we have to understand that connection, because that same connection is here today. Even though there's a dependence on social media now and people are getting information in other ways, we have to understand that everybody is not using social media.
Right.
I'm able to flourish because people still want to pick up my newspaper and they still want to read what's going on. And if you look at our history again, the Pullman porters on trains, they were the ones that spread black newspapers all over the country, because wherever they went, they would take newspapers from down south up to the north, west, and east, and they would drop them off in black communities so black people could read what was happening back home. So when you ask why is print media so important, it's always been a very trusted resource for information and connection for our people.
Brother Hughes, it's 5:28. Can you give us a quick 1-minute summary so we can close out? And
okay. I'm going to make
next week, God willing. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make this as quick as possible. We are the first drafts of history. All journalists, we are the first drafts of history. The researchers and the scientists will come back, and when they write about this period, the first thing they're going to go to is the communications, the websites, and everything. One of the things that I discovered with FrontrunnerNewJersey.com when I started it, and I was surprised when I started to research African stories about African Americans with FrontrunnerNewJersey.com. Even in today, I found that stories that I thought would be easy to research because these people were playing such important parts in the community, there were no stories done on them. So I found quickly how Frontrunner New Jersey kind of fit into that narrative of filling that gap, because in today's media, today's media is shrinking so much. And again, that's another story for another day. I can talk about the shrinking media and what a danger it has become in a functioning democracy, but we don't have time for that. But that's another reason why African American media and media that serves people of color is so important. You would think in today it would be less important. Not necessarily. It's actually more important today than ever before.
Okay, Brother Hughes, thank you. Hate to interrupt you. Earl Harvey, thank you. Clyde Hughes, thank you. Mayor Small, thank you for your involvement. Looking forward to really all three of you back. The mayor will be back next week. Clyde Hughes, you'll be back. Earl Harvey, you'll be back. Yolanda,
yes.
I'm going to put in a formal complaint. I believe that there's been a fake news on whose guests they are. Seriously,
We're out of time.
When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. See you next week.